Alright, fellas, so since the last time my consciousness and I spoke, I was talking about different books, and those books are going to include 100 Million Offers, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and the 48 Laws of Power. And the goal of talking about these books today is to further elaborate the skill, the soft skill of persuasion, negotiation, influence, because what's the point of winning friends? The point of winning friends is to gain access to more knowledge, resources, and value, because what are we going to do? We're just going to say bye to all the humans and go hang out with all the eels and all the fish under the water, or we're going to go into the forest and hang out with the monkeys and the ants and the bugs. Like, that's not our natural instinct to want to do those things now, especially because society, we have over civilized and over socialized everything, and now, since everything is so, in a sense, everything is actualized right now, because society keeps growing, technology keeps self-overcoming. The way nature and culture will become a slightly different adaptation, because in my head I'm thinking about the structure with the walled garden, that image in the Bible, what that means, and we are nested within culture and nature. And when I think about how things are changing and growing and expanding so fast with so much optionality, there's a lot of these happening. Hierarchies, because they're all things that could grow, get better, and also self-overcome. And so those things are going to completely transform how we view the world, because things change. But the whole goal of studying these books is to locate the value, the values to live by, and the aim to go towards. And while we align those things, such as winning friends and influencing people, we are going to be with the people, because the more, said it last time, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. The people that you spend with the most is your instant influence, because since we share ideas and emotions, those things foster, and then it becomes the collective consciousness. And so I really like this chapter. We are on this chapter today, the biggest secret of dealing with people. And I'm going to read this small story, and then I'm going to go into the material. There is only one way under high heaven to get anybody to do anything. Do you ever stop to think of that? Yes, just one way, and that is by making the other person want to do it. Remember, there is no other way. Of course, you can make someone want to give you his watch by sticking a revolver in his ribs. You can make your employees give you cooperation until your back is turned by threatening to fire them. You can make a child do what you want it to do by a whip or a threat, but these crude methods have sharply undesirable repercussions. The only way I can get you to do anything is by giving you what you want. And again, this principle, be honest and give honest and sincere appreciation. So from that story there, anytime you go to someone or something that you want, let's say you're trying to build relationships, because those relationships give you access to more ideas, because you start to hang out. The higher you climb in the social economic ladder, let's say, or even just the biological ladder of the pre-selected man that gets access to all the women, this same individual that's growing and self-overcoming knows that the power dynamic that is provided to a team, because even though you're hanging out with more people, the people are also following you. So there's this huge wave, this manifestation wave of your collective, of your consciousness then being incorporated in a larger collective consciousness that I believe creates the gravitational pull for more of what you want. Not because of, I just think about this as an astral phenomenon within space, the same way the sun was created and the planets were aligned with the matter, and with enough time, and if you let it cook, if you just let it cook, then bam, we're here. But within our nature, we still expand that philosophy into a practical way, because that team is carrying out that pattern of being that you embodied to create the results that they wanted to. Like, hey, I got to the gold. You want me to show you how to get to the gold? And then it's an elaboration through speech, and it's this empowerment for them is not making them do it exactly. There's already something that they desire, and through the word, through articulated speech, this is what gives your words power. And that's the best form of power. And when you are building a team, giving honest and sincere appreciation is important, because you're rewarding good behavior, and so it increases the chance of more better behavior. And if it's the opposite, then it's not necessarily punishment, but it's grace and it's understanding to then, reciprocate how to do things. And of course, there's certain businesses and jobs and other social hierarchies out there that have done things like this, that they'll use fear and threat to make you do what you want. And there's a certain level of power that works, that power's tactic only works with certain individuals, and it's most people that actually have less power that they can do those things too. Because in our investigation with power today, it's very important to understand that you are going to run into circles that are going to try to outmaneuver you and outpower you in psychological ways and by ways of controlling perception. And so this is why it's very important to be aware of your surroundings, and even the people within those surroundings. Because like Jim Rohn said, the number one question on the job is not what am I getting? The main question on the job is, what am I becoming? And so we actually did speak about this one here last time, giving honest and sincere appreciation. And I was actually reading one of these chapters before the video today, and I believe it was chapter 3 I ran through here. Oh, okay. I believe it was actually chapter 1. Oh, what chapter was that then? There was one that I believe I could just add this on then. I saw it. Oh, that's what I was looking at. Do this and you'll be welcomed anywhere. I actually didn't realize I skipped one. But this one I went over today, and it's to become genuinely interested in other people. And when we're winning friends and influencing people, Dale Carnegie's philosophy is pretty much helping us build rapport and understanding and connection with the client. And when you're interested in other people, this is where I'm going to segue into the 48 Laws of Power again, because when you're genuinely interested in building rapport with the client, from my perspective, when the selling negotiation is happening, there's a lot of probing. There's a lot of probing done, a lot of questions being asked to the client, and it places them in the important space. It allows them to become fully comfortable in what they're saying to you, because they are telling you exactly what they want. And while they're telling you what they want, then this is where the connection builds. But this is where the influence begins, because there's 2 chapters in here that I want to compare to becoming genuinely interested in people. Law 13, when asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. If you need to turn an ally for help, do not bother to remind him of your past assistance and good deeds. He will find a way to ignore you. Instead, uncover something in your request or in your alliance with him that will benefit him, and emphasize it out of all proportion. He will respond enthusiastically when he sees something to be gained for himself. And that's very true, because not only when we're selling, but also to gain maximum influence, in a sense it is control. A lot of these things so far allows you more control within reality, and it gives you something like, there's this board game I used to play, and these characters, once you would attack the character, a defensive tactic or even an offensive tactic, that's the thing, it could be used defensively or offensively, and it was called probability control, and it was blue color. Probability control, yes. And then when they would attack you, you just say prob, and then they would have to do it again. They would have to make that attack and precisely land on it again, because it was a dice rolling game, we'll say. And so it's so funny when I think about this rule, because when you're trying to appeal to someone to give them what they want, and to also create the connection for the society influence to change culture, to then change the world, then you don't run around telling people like, hey bud, I did all these good things today, this is what I did, and I helped this person, I helped that person. If someone's just like, okay. But as soon as but this is how you can get what you want, what they desire, what their core desires, then that's the pull, that's the magnetic pull for them to be engaged. And so he will respond enthusiastically, emphasize it out of all proportion. And when you're building rapport and probing questions and being genuinely interested in people, this is the pattern that we fall in. And right after that, this is law 14. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. Knowing about your rival is critical. Use spies to gather valuable information that will keep you a step ahead. Better still, play the spy yourself. In polite social encounters, learn to probe. Ask indirect questions to get people to reveal their weaknesses and intentions. There is no occasion that is not an opportunity for artful spying. 13 and 14 are very similar. They're very, very similar, because because this is the part, posing as a friend. This is interesting, because a lot of the times you're going to be reaching out to people that are slightly strangers or complete strangers. A little spooky there, but there's this posing that you do as a friend when you make these encounters, because since you're trying to become connected with them, you're trying to forget that we're strangers. That's the feeling we're trying to eliminate. We're trying to eliminate the feeling that we are strange to each other. Like that song, people are strange when you are stranger. People are ugly when you're alone. I forgot that song, but this is very similar to that. And so when we're working as a spy, this is the part where we're asking questions, becoming genuinely interested, and trying to find the angle to appear to give them what their self-interest desires. And so within these ideas, it's very interesting when I read them. Like, it's so funny to believe that like these are both forms of power. These are both forms of power, and it's just the perspective of like I said, this book is aimed to help you build rapport and gain understanding, and it's to build rapport and exercise empathy, something like that. And this book is more so how to maintain power and how to protect yourself. And so, this is very interesting. And now to our third book here, 100 Million Offers. You know, what I learned about this book that's very important is that since we're creating offers that are so irresistible, look at them. Since we're creating offers so irresistible, the goal within the probing and the questions being asked is to find exactly where your product fits their need. Let's see here. I just got a message from Amazon. Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh yeah. Let's see. Dude, the red cards are tripping me out. Look at this. Dude. Within this book though, 100 Million Offers, what I was reading, because I put out an audiobook and then I was looking at ChatGPT regarding this book. And this is actually a good tip. In all the books that we read today, this is actually something that Alex Hormozi recommends. He says faster, deeper learning by reading and listening at the same time. So if I listen to this book and read it at the same time, it creates faster learning habits. And it makes sense, like you're doubling down on clarity. You're doubling down on clarity. When I look at this book though by Alex Hormozi, there's what he is explaining here and how it relates to the other books that we've been speaking about today is that the offer you're providing it's pretty much supposed to be offering so much value that the price looks so little compared to the amount of value. And that's actually very, very important detail that is said, because I could imagine that, imagine value as this huge thing that's like expanding and great, and then the price is just like, it's just a minimum, it's just a dot. It's not going to keep expanding, it's just, let's get it out the way, but here's all the value you get, the potential. And within that sentence, it does make sense. And he says that there's four levers that you can control when you're creating an offer, and it's raising the dream outcome within this book, at least, increasing the confidence they'll get it. We have to increase the dream outcome, and we have to increase the likelihood of when they'll get it and how they'll get it. And as long as we reduce the time it takes and reduce the effort or sacrifice required, then he pretty much means that the bigger the gap between value and price, the stronger the offer. And this book here, tied with these, it's going to create this outcome. Remember, so the practice to do is to always ask questions, to ask more and more questions. We spend most of our time within our own minds, and as soon as we shoot that attention outward, which actually makes people feel important, then their consciousness opens up with each of those questions, and then you find out what they want and you find out their intentions. So this is what creates you as a powerful individual, because you're seeing where they're going and what they're going to do. Remember, with this book. And as soon as we know exactly what will feed the self-interest, then that's where the connection can also start to then increase more value between each other, and also possibly increase more money and profit and resources. And so, I believe those are the books today, and I want to I guess one last thing from these books, I want to relate it to these today because I wasn't really jumping in between each of these. And so I would say individuality is exercised when you're willing to walk away from the deal. And I've learned that the most powerful person is actually the one who cares less. That's a very important part. And so even though you care less in not getting what you want, there's also a genuine love for the other person to find what they want. And so this is in relationships, but it's also in the deals that we're attempting to make. And when you're an individual, an individual is very associated with being one, because when you're one, you're very aware and you're open to not just the possibility of good and evil, but it's everything in between. And that those different articulations within situations is what our consciousness projects, because we're all individuals first. And as long as we are being authentic within our own individuality, then we're able to remain autonomous. This is what I've learned, and this is a great power of the masculine potential, because there's an autonomy and a self that is able to preserve itself very well, and it's able to survive and utilize the universe and the galaxy to get the resources that it needs to survive as this phenomenon within billions and billions of galaxies, where there's all these things happening and we're alive and we don't know why. And this individuality is what gives you power, because there's this image, there's a meme I saw. It showed like a vintage Batman with like his face with just his eyes, and his eyes pretty much, and it said, "Love is the last illusion, give it up and you will be free." And I believe it relates to that in a very strange way. But authenticity is very important, because when you are trying to change the world, this is the goal. You are speaking from a place of belief, and you're doing those actions that you do because that's how much you believe them. And that's what makes you authentic, because if we do the opposite, if we're saying what we don't do and we're doing what we don't say, and we're thinking and believing what we don't know because we're unconscious, and we're completely flipped, and we're not one, we're not aligned, we're too fragmented. See one here. And you could actually feel that when you're saying what you believe. And as soon as I don't believe what is going to come out next, then there's a situation or something that I'm not taking into consideration. So it's best not to speak. And just like this book has taught me, always say less than necessary. And I'm going to jump right into that rule, because in self-autonomy and individuality, there's a great aesthetic of power that I see within these other individuals that I see. When you are trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear, and the less in control. Even if you are saying something banal, it will seem original if you make it vague, open-ended, and sphinx-like. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. And I've probably done that in this video, but this one's a very cool. You actually look like a very cool person when you do this, because I noticed that I attract more when I'm actually more quiet, and I feel more powerful because I could see the patterns, but then I could enter in the arena with it's almost like you're playing a board game, and then you get the jokers. The jokers can be anything that they want because you've been watching the game. It's something like that. And so within your individuality and being authentic because I believe if you're not authentic, then it's very hard to survive as an individual, because I believe you'll become self-corrupt, and you'll fall into like hedonism or some sort of depression or some sort of like anxiety that you have to escape. And so truth is part of authenticity, because I believe truth is I believe this part is biological. I think this is I believe this is a biological word as well. Truth, logos, logic, and biology, like they all sound like the same. They all have like a, do you hear it within the word logos, logic, biology, and truth? I believe they're all related because truth is in the action. Truth is purely within the action, and this is what offers the best long-term result within nature and what creates more life. It's something like that. And what would this be? Creating more life, creating more life, creating more value. More value means that we have more things to offer others. Drop something. And so, and as long as there's more value, then there's always people that come, because when you build it, they come. And whatever you're building, the temple within us, then that is what expands, and that is what expands, and that is what is in theory our future self, but it's also our full potential, because as Bob Proctor says, we don't know who we are. We'll say these material things and these things that we understand as a framing of who we believe we are, but who we are is what we're becoming, and it's on the horizon of understanding, and we have to live at the edge of that if we want to transform. And the edge of that transformation takes a curious mind, and as long as you're transforming within that, that's what creates you as one, because you're noticing all parts of your psyche manifested in material celestial space, and within those material creations, there's this internal blossoming within that is the actualized individual, the full reality of that expression. And this is a navigation of how we could create a pattern of that actualization from these books. And so let's change the world. Goodbye.